Well, whole Manna family, in just the next few minutes, we're going to be interviewing Amber Davis, our children's director here, and just want you to get to know her a little bit better. But before we have that interview, I just want to talk a little bit about Sunday morning. As you know, I am very burdened as a pastor about the direction of our country and where we're going and all the issues that are facing us right now. You know my heart about racism, and I brought a message on that and the evils of that. But there's other evils that are also going on. Anarchy in some of our cities, and we need revival. We need Jesus. And the place where that is going to start is in the home. In fact, I believe that's our only hope, is to start teaching biblical values in our home. And because of that, I'm going to start a series of messages to the fathers. And we have a father crisis in our country, and I believe that because of that father crisis, and we'll talk a little bit about that on Sunday, I believe that's why we're where we're at today. And so Sunday, we're going to start a series on manhood and what it means to be a man, what it means to be a father. And I hope through this series, we're going to take back our homes and teach biblical values so that we can save a generation, and I believe save our country. I will tell you that the inspiration for this series actually came from a man in our church, and I'll talk more about that Sunday. I don't want to give all that away. But men, I want to encourage you to be here and don't miss a Sunday. Next week is Father's Day. This is part of the reason, or a week from this Sunday, this is part of the reason why we're having this series, and it'll coincide with Father's Day. And so we'll bring a message next week, a Father's Day message, and then two more messages. And I really believe it'll be very beneficial for you to be here. If you can't make it, please listen online. The family is the hope of America, and I believe it starts with the father being the leader of the home, and I'm looking forward to start talking about that this Sunday. Well, hello, Manna. Here we are again. It seems like we were just here last week together for our Manna Moment. I'm so glad that you've tuned in for our Manna Moment. Manna Moment is where we interview guests, people from our church with testimonies, and also we interview missionaries and some of our community leaders. And in between some of those interviews, we've been interviewing our staff members, because I want you to get to know our staff members a little bit better. And Sundays is always very hectic, and sometimes it's hi and goodbye, but this is a way you can get to know them a little bit better. And I do want to say this. We have a great staff, and I'm not just saying that. Those just aren't words. We all very much enjoy working together, and this is a great team that we work with, and I'm so proud to be a part of the team with them. And I think it really shined through during this coronavirus, and we really saw flexibility and creativity come out, and the attitude of whatever it takes to get the job done, we're going to get it done. And so with that, I want to introduce to you, most of you know Miss Amber. Amber Davis is our children's director, and when I think of someone that is willing to get the job done and whatever it takes to get the job done, I do think of Amber. And so I'm just thrilled that you're our children's director, and I want our congregation to get to know you a little bit better, because they see Aaron up here, they see Brett up here, they see me up here, they see Bill greeting. On Sunday mornings, you're running around trying to get all the teachers ready and greeting kids and things like that, so not everybody knows who you are. So let's start with telling us a little bit about your family, about that mean old bear that you're married to, and that's not true. He's got a very tender heart and a cool guy. But tell us about the guy you're married to and how you guys met and how many kids you have, and maybe a little bit about your kids.
All right. So Bill and I have been married for almost 11 years.
Okay.
This September. He truly is a very loving and supportive man,
Yes, he
not
is.
not the not the bear. Though he does have a grizzly side occasionally. You can ask our kids, but he's very, very sweet and has always been that way from the very moment I met him. I actually met him at work, very first day of my first time on my job. He was actually the guy that I was replacing. He was transferring to another department, and so he became the person that was going to be training me up for 2 weeks in
So look, I want to back up a little bit. Where is that at?
It is at the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City.
Okay, and what did you do there?
I was a computer developer, a software developer there. It was my first job ever out of college.
Okay.
And newbie, but he was the one that I was going to be replacing.
And so your degree's in IT or computer? Or?
It is, I actually have 3 degrees. I have a computer information systems degree, which is my bachelor's. I have a master's in information systems management and a master's in project management.
I'm not worthy.
No. Neither am I of all those titles. I mean, but it definitely was good for me because I learned a lot of different languages, not computer languages, not speaking languages.
Right.
But it gave me a lot of opportunities at the Fed because I was able to do a lot of different, be a jack of all trades.
Okay, that's cool. So you're going there thinking that you're there for the purpose of working for the feds, and then you meet this hunk of a man, and things change.
Well, that's not quite exactly how it happened.
Oh, okay.
Bill was actually dating somebody else at that time, and after a year, that fell through, and he started noticing a difference in me, and he, in the IT realm, you don't have a lot of females. And so I was one of the few females, and he started expressing interest. But I was hesitant because he's a coworker. Mm-hmm. And I was one of the guys, and I just wanted to be one of the guys, and I didn't want anything awkward. So I was very reserved about it, and we waited, and he kept pursuing for a year, and finally I said, okay. And he started hanging out with my friends, getting to know, being at church with me and stuff. And after that year, then for 2 years we dated, and finally he proposed on Valentine's Day and said, would you make me the happiest man in the world and be my wife?
Oh, stop.
he is a romantic,
That's cool.
very sweet.
That's cool.
So, of course, we said yes, and then God blessed us in those almost 11 years with 4 kids.
4 kids.
Great kids.
They are. I'll vouch for that. Coolest kids in the world.
2 boys and 2 girls, which is perfect. Jaden is going to be 10 in just a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Gideon is 8. Chloe is 5.5, and Abigail is 3.5. And they're a lot alike, and they're different in their own realms. So
very neat. So you're working at the feds at that time, and at the time you were meeting Bill. Did you ever dream at that time, well, you know what? This is not going to be my career, and I'm going to be a children's director at a church?
No. So when we were going through marriage premarital counseling, somebody asked me that question, the pastor did, and he said, "Is your goal to have a career?" And I said, "No, my goal is." Bill and I decided first and foremost when we had kids, yes, I would love to have a career as long as it's available, mm-hmm. but we want to focus on our kids. One of us needs to be available to them. Mm-hmm. So, of course, it was made sense that it would be me. And for the longest time, God allowed me to work part-time at the Federal Reserve and be home the other part of the time with the kids. And then I could do it from home, which was really great. But God went ahead and about right after Chloe was born, 6 months after Chloe was born, God said, He had transitioned me to a new team, mm-hmm. and they weren't utilizing me. It kind of put a feeling of distress in me. I was like, I don't have a purpose here. Mm-hmm. And finally it came down to, it was an ultimatum. They said, you either come back full-time in the office, 40 hours a week, or you leave. Mm-hmm. And it hurt, but because I was close to my 10-year anniversary, I said, okay, Bill and I made this decision. It was a commitment that we made. And I said, I'll leave. Mm-hmm. And I was like, God, what are you doing?
Yeah. But that's one of those situations that we talk about so many times around here that at the time we don't understand it, mm-hmm. but then we fast forward and we can look back and go, oh, God knew what He was doing all along. Is that how you feel now?
It is. I even felt it after about a few months because I started, afterwards I had like a month or two, I was like, what are you doing? I don't understand this. I don't want my kids to be my entire world. I want something else. And so I started looking at it, and there was an opportunity to team up and help with VBS. So I thought, okay, children's ministry is an obvious place for me to go because I have kids. I can know my kids will be taken care of. I can get involved. So I went ahead and got involved in that, and it started taking more and more of my time. But I noticed that I was more fulfilled with it. I had a joy about it. And I was like, okay, I'll keep doing this.
More fulfilled than what you were doing at work even those 10 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, trust me, I still loved what I do because I was helping people.
Yeah.
That's what I loved.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that, I was really good at my job or anything. It was because I was helping people. I was meeting a need. And I found, as a result of children's ministry, I was able to really meet some needs and be a part of it. And I found joy in just being with others and being with the kids and seeing their eyes light up and their face with the bright smiles and stuff. So that's what I enjoyed. And knowing that my kids were cared for was great. And more of my time was taken up with children's ministry. And so I was like, God, this is fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting to know people. I'm getting connected, because you learn more about people when you serve.
Right.
You get to really know them. So that's what happened. And then 2018 occurred. We had an opening in the children's ministry for the director, and you came and you had shared your heart with me about what you were looking for in the children's director. And I told you, I'm not qualified. But I said, for the interim, I am willing to step in and take that spot, just to make sure, because I didn't want kids to feel like...
More than qualified.
I didn't want kids to feel that when something happens in life, everything falls apart. I wanted them to know that there is one consistent, and that's God. And so I said, I'll step in and fill those shoes for the time being until you find somebody. Well, a few months went by, and then I get a phone call from you and said, Amber, I want you to pray about this. It's like, okay, what do you want me to pray about? You said, I want you to pray about taking the position of the children's director. And of course, you and I had the conversation of why I couldn't be it, but you said, just pray about it. So I prayed about it, and I said, God, I'm not qualified. He said, do you trust me? Well, I like being, I do trust you, God, but I don't like being in leadership. I'm terrified of making a decision. I'd rather be in behind the scenes. He said, but do you trust me? I said, yes, God, but, and I had all these lists, my kids are in it. What are they going to do? Looking up to that requires a lot of sacrifice. God, what? And as I went down the list, every time he responded, do you trust me? And finally got down, and the question still remained, do you trust me? I said, yes. And I don't have anything else to say. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like, well, you have your answer then.
Yeah.
If you trust me. And so then I read in a book, it said, and I don't remember which book, but the quote was, the question is not, am I qualified to serve? The question is, are you willing to serve?
Amen. Yeah, that's good.
Because what God will do is he takes the least likely candidate.
Yeah.
And he takes them and he says, my grace is sufficient. It's in your weakness that my strength shines through.
Yes.
It's just, I want that willing heart.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because there is no doubt some potential teachers sitting out there for the children's or some volunteers that may be thinking the exact same thing.
Okay.
And it really is taking that first step and just being willing and having that willing heart. And God takes it from there. And as he takes it from there, just as you experience, as you start to get into it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is some great blessings here. Yes. I know one of the blessings for you, and I see it, is when I see kids come in and run up to you and Miss Amber and give you a hug. I know that's one of the blessings.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about some of the other blessings that you get out of ministering to children, and not just children, but their parents as well.
Well, one of the things I would say is being in the classroom, because I try to pop in, or I fill in gaps a lot of times, but being in the classroom and actually seeing that light bulb moment where all of a sudden it dawns on them what this means. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy building that relationship with the kids. That is vital to any ministry, is having a relationship. Knowing that they have a place to go to, somebody that they can talk to. We don't have to have the answers, but we can at least have a conversation and start pointing them in the right direction. Yeah. So having that. And then for the parents, it's kind of nice because they're my peers right now. And I know them, we're all in the throes of raising kids.
Sure.
So having those conversations, and one of the things that I've been doing is I send out a weekly email to the parents saying, this is what your kid learned. And I just get to share my heart about, as I read this passage, what did it mean to me? Or what is God saying to me? For instance, like this week, it was about rest. And I'm like, how often do we take the time to be still and know that He is God?
Yeah.
And so it's just some of those things that I get to share my heart with the parents. And they get to get a little insight into me. I don't let that side out very often.
Yeah.
And so just getting that sneak peek of who I am.
That's neat. And I just got to say, too, this really is a family ministry. Bill's on our board, but Bill is so supportive of what Amber does. Sometimes Amber's first in and last out on Sunday mornings, and Bill is very patient, waiting in the car and also helping her as she gets things ready. But then all the kids, too. This is all part of a package deal, and they understand the responsibility, and they're part of that responsibility, too. So I just really appreciate it's not, I mean, I appreciate you, but it's not just you. It really is a family ministry. And I think it's so great because you're teaching your kids of what ministry is all about and really what sacrifice is about, too, for others. And I think that's so cool. And so you said that you didn't feel qualified, but I will say that the proof's in the pudding, because since Amber's been here as director, our children's ministry has at least doubled, right?
Right.
And maybe a little bit more. And that was pre-COVID.
Yes, it's kind of tanked a little.
It kind of went down to COVID, and now that we're getting back, kids are starting to come back. And in fact, last Sunday was the first.
Right.
So how did that feel?
It was good. I mean, I will tell you, when we met about COVID-19, we had that conversation, and we're like, okay, we can still meet with 50. And I was like, oh, good, I can still have kids ministry. As soon as we got the notification that it went down to 10, I said, oh, no, I'm done. I don't like this. I want this over right now, because I knew that it would be hard to reach kids virtually. A lot of them don't, yes, they have the technology, but to choose to watch it is another thing. So when they came back, I was just thrilled to have faces to talk to besides my own kids and besides a camera. I was like, I know that I can see them. I can relate to them. And as you know, we went out and visited the kids during COVID-19, and that was just, it meant a lot to them, and it meant a lot to me just to be able to see them.
Sure. So we have, and we're comfortable either way. If parents are not quite comfortable with taking their kids on Sunday morning to our kids' ministry, that's perfectly fine. They can sit in here with the kids. I think it's pretty exciting. I've peeked my head into the rooms, and the teachers are doing a great job, and I think it's pretty exciting what's going on. And I think kids would really benefit from it. What would you say to those kids, or maybe the parents that are a little hesitant about bringing them into the children's ministry or the classes just yet?
I would tell them that a lot of us are parents ourselves. We understand the concerns. We very much put kids first. We focus on them. We want it to be a safe environment for them. So we take every effort and every precaution that we can to keep it safe. We also want it to make, we know that they will have fun with us. We know that it'll be a memorable time for them. They walk away usually with not only having fun, but also remembering what they learned about and building that relationship. So I would say, definitely I understand the cause of concern with this, but know that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that everything is safe and clean for them.
Yes, great. So we had to cancel camps because of COVID, but you have some things coming up that maybe not would take the place of camp, but will still be fun. Tell us what you get coming up here.
So one of the things that I remember that was fun for my kids in elementary school, and I still enjoy it, is field day. And they missed out on that because this year they had to cancel. They were doing virtual learning. So one of the things that I thought would be really fun for the kids is to have a field day. And we're going to do it on July 8th and July 22nd. We'll do it in the evening for about 2 hours. We'll feed them dinner, and we'll have some fun field day games. A lot of the staff are going to be there. We're going to play with them, and
Great.
we'll also have an opportunity to share some special messages and stuff with them. So
Great, wonderful, wonderful. And then further down the road in the future, we're going to be in our new building.
Thrilled about
And
that.
so tell us a little bit about what you have planned for the new building and a little extra space, and kind of give a feel and a walkthrough for parents and kids of maybe even what to expect on that first day.
All right. Well, of course, the best thing about the children's area is that we're going to have this new children's assembly area, and all the classrooms will be together, which is great. And so, what my goal is when we get to the new building is to have a big opening where we can have all the kids together. We can have a worship time. We can have kind of a big grand opening of just maybe a cool science experiment or something that relates to the lesson. And then we can have the kids go off to their respective classes. And then also we have the opportunity of they can go and use this big assembly area to do games and have game time, because the kids have energy and they love doing games. They love they love our hands-on room, which unfortunately we had to cancel right now for COVID-19, but they enjoy that. They enjoy being able to think about the lesson in a different way. Kids learn different ways. They learn with visual, they learn auditory, and they also learn by doing. And so that's why I like the hands-on room and the games, because they learn by doing. They connect the dots.
Yes.
They start seeing God in different ways.
So last week you had, I saw the kids, and it was really cool because they got their little brothers and sisters and said, "Hey, look at this." And they had a balloon on a car or something.
A balloon-powered
that was
car.
powered, yeah.
Yes, it was a
what was that
balloon-powered.
all about?
So it was totally about rest. Remember the Sabbath day. We're in the 10 Commandments, and the focus was that we go in life, but we have to be filled up. We will eventually run out of energy. And that happens also in our spiritual life. We will go and serve and pour out. But if we're never being filled up again, how are we ever going to go again? So we need to take time to spend time with God and actually be filled to pour out. And so that was what that balloon-powered car was, to show, here we are filled up. We've gone through the day, through the week. We've run out of energy. We need to go back and be filled again.
Cool.
And so it's just
Great
another way to,
illustration.
it's just another
Oh,
way
yeah.
to get them to think
Yeah.
about it.
When they're at home and they're running that car across the kitchen floor, they'll remember that lesson.
Well, and that's
That's
what,
cool.
Growing up, that my parents taught in Sunday school, and that was one of the things that they taught me was, hey, start looking at things from a different perspective. Kids they might not get it right that moment, but days later, weeks later, years later, that will stick with them, and they're like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. The other thing that we're going to be doing in the new building is this fall is Awana. We're going to be starting that
Yeah,
up, and I've gotten
yeah.
a lot of feedback from some of the parents saying that they're thrilled about that. So
Yeah.
we definitely need volunteers for that to fill in several holes,
Yeah.
but it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm personally really excited about Awanas. I know you grew up in Awanas, right?
No, I did not.
You did not? I thought you did.
no.
Okay. My boys did, and they learned a lot of scripture through Awanas and had a great time there. And I'm looking forward to it because I'm the game guy, and I'll get to see the kids and play games with them, so I'm excited about that. But they'll learn scripture and have fun at the same time. And I hope you'll come on Sunday night this fall to our Awanas, and any neighbor kids that you have that want to come with them, bring them on. The more the merrier. It'll be a party. So, and the Harms are going to be heading that up, who did go through Awanas, and as younger kids and teenagers too.
Right.
And so we'll talk more about that later, but we are excited about that. Let me close with a couple of things. We'll close. So you're a full-time mom.
Yes.
And you and Bill still have to have a life together too. So your mom, a wife, a children's director in a growing church. I know you're involved in other things too, other than just that here at church, because of your technical background, you help even with some of the technical things. And then you're involved in some of the groups like the women's ministry too. How do you balance all that? And I know some we never want to burn people out. That is not our goal, to burn people out. But at the same time, we want to stretch people a little bit too, because a lot of times we have a lot more capacity than we think we do. How do you balance all that out? And do you get tired? And is God cheating you out of time? Is he cheating you?
Well, I ultimately come down to, Jesus said, follow me. But he also said, you need to count the cost. Mm-hmm. You need to be willing to sacrifice your time, your treasure, your talents. And that's what I told my kids. I want, we might not be able to do everything. And we have to realize that. Mm-hmm. So we have to make the decision, okay, what is God wanting us to do? There are times that I know it will be a season. There are other ministries I would love to be involved with, but it's not the season for me. So I look at every opportunity that arises, and I say, okay, is this something more that we can take on? Bill and I look at it, we discuss it, and there's times that Bill has told me, Amber, it's too much. There's been times that I said, okay, Bill, I think I can do this. It just means that we have to rearrange our schedule, that things might have to be a little bit, you don't expect always a home-cooked meal right on the table at a certain time of night. But it's very much a collaborative thing.
So you're doing, Bill told me he does all the cooking.
We both.
He didn't tell me that.
He actually does a lot of cooking. He is a very good cook. he grills and is a very good cook in that. I'm a baker.
Okay.
So
okay.
I make the good desserts.
All right.
But no, it's just a collaborative thing. And then I also, talked with the kids. I will say there are times that I've noticed I push too hard and I need to back off because my kids respond. And I can see it in them that, I've taken too much away from family time.
Sure.
So it's just that balancing act of, praying about it, working together as a couple to determine what more can we take on.
Yeah. So let's close with this, and I really mean it this time. We'll close with this. I know in the midst of everything that we just talked about that you have on your plate, I also know for a fact that you spend time with the Lord in prayer and about children's ministry. As you spend time with the Lord in prayer about children's ministry, what does he lay on your heart about the children's ministry?
It's a couple things. One, it's very important to him. Kids matter to God. It's throughout Scripture we see it. He says that they are a gift. They are the heritage. And I look at it and I see, it's kind of the whole theme of our logo and everything. It's a kid running. If a kid is excited, they're going to come running. They're excited about being there. They want to be first to experience it. They want to be first to tell you about what's going on. And I look at the passage when Jesus has the children come unto him and he's rebuking the disciples for telling them not to come. He said, let them come unto me. And don't forbid him. And when I picture that, I see kids running to Jesus. Amen. I see Jesus with this big smile on his face, with them in his lap. They're all climbing over him, trying to tell him the latest and greatest joke or all this stuff. And he wasn't ever bothered by it.
Yeah.
He wanted to have that time. And so for me, it's very much about, one, the kids. It's also about building that relationship, knowing that they can have a relationship with the adults that are in the ministry, also knowing that they have a relationship with God. Here's this great, mighty God, and we talk about how awesome he is, but he's also a very personal God. He wants that intimacy with them. And he's never bothered by any age. You look at the Bible, God used them throughout all ages.
That's right.
So I love that. And then for a kid to have that childlike faith, to see them grow. Yeah. I mean, I came to Christ when I was 6, and to see where God took me as this little seedling, so to speak, and I didn't see like I had a lot of growth, but what was happening was the roots were growing deep. Yeah. They were growing deep in the soil, and then the time came where he said, okay, you're supposed to blossom. You're supposed to be in fruit. And that's what I enjoy about kids ministry. One, seeing them come to know God as their personal Savior, and then growing in that relationship.
Amen. Well, you have blossomed, and you are blossoming in our children's ministry, and I just want to say thank you. Keep up the good work.